How's the balance on this? Lord help me if the guitar gets louder than the fiddle, because that gets you in trouble with these guys. Is it pretty good? The balance all right on the thing? You don't want too much guitar in here anyway. Next tune we're going to play, we've already had a request for, which is another tune that's common in this area. It's an old Scottish air that was, when we say the age of these tunes, what we're talking about is the first time they were in print. They're way older than that. They go back into the 1500s and 1400s, a lot of them. But this one was first in print around the 1770s, and it's called Billy in the Low Ground.
Thank you.
Now, if anybody ever wants a definition of what is traditional fiddling, that's all mixed up nowadays because we've got progressive fiddling, we've got contest fiddling and all that. This music served one purpose for all the hundreds of years it's been around, until recently, and that was to dance to. Every tune we play of this old style is a dance tune. And let's see, Flowers of Edinburgh is not good. Go ahead.
G.
Go ahead and
This is a tune that's directly out of Scotland from about close to 300 years, and I know that it's the oldest tune I know, and I know it's been played by 4 generations of my family because it's been my great-grandfather, my grandfather, my uncle, and myself. And we love to play it. It's a pretty tune and got a sort of a lonesome sound to it, but we like to play it.
Called The Flowers of Edinburgh. Another dance, that was what they call kind of a, I don't know what, slow jig or something, but there's another dance that was the jig, the Irish jig. And we've lost it in the Ozarks now. Maybe at one time it was done. But, of course, what we call jig dancing now in the Ozarks is a descendant of this early jig dancing. And, of course, down in Cleburne County, I'm sure there's a lot of guys that can hit a step during a square dance just like we have them. But all fiddlers still play jigs, even though to this 6/8 time, even though nobody really dances a jig anymore. It's a part of just about every fiddler's repertoire. And we're going to play you two here. The first one's called Over the Water to Charlie's, these are both 18th century tunes, which was a reference to Bonnie Prince Charles when he was kicked out of England and went over to France, and his followers would have a toast and say over the water to Bonnie Prince Charles. And the second one is Irish Washerwoman, which you all know, both of these from the 1700s. Another type of dance that until recently was very common in the Ozarks, and it's still scattered around a few places. Between sets of the square dance, sometimes we'll have people come out and do it, and that's the schottische. It was a German dance. It originally was a Scottish dance, and went over to about the time it lost favor in Scotland, it went over to Europe, and the Germans took it up, and of course, schottische is German for Scottish, and then it came back to the British Isles, but then retained the German name for some reason. But this is the dance you've seen, the 1, 2, 3 hop where the pairs are side by side. A pretty dance. It's a shame we've lost it. But we'll play you a tune here again on these names. This is called Doc Jessup's Schottische. Well, Doc Jessup was a doctor up at Crane, Missouri. And no telling what the real name is, but a lot of tunes are named for whatever fiddler made them popular in an area. Nobody knows what the real name is. So this is Doc Jessup's Schottische.
this is still another dance that was danced by any number of couples in a long line. And you've seen things like that in some of your gym classes maybe. But anyway, the men stood on one side, the women stood on the other, and whatever the man and the girl did on the end, the next one did it, and the next one, and the next one. They went down the whole line, and they all did it together. But it's called a cotillion. It's a long dance, and it's sort of an odd, and it sounds a little bit like a bagpipe. I might try to imitate a little bit of bagpipe in it. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, we're going to move you into the 19th century now. We've left all the old days back there in the 16 and 1700s. I'm going to play a tune for you to show you the staying power of these tunes and how they retain their identity. Now, I don't read music. Art reads a little bit. And I'd venture to say 90% of the musicians that play this music don't read music. It's like the ballads and the storytelling. It's just gone from to ear to ear to ear over generations and generations. Here's a tune that was written about 1839, or first copyrighted then, a minstrel tune. And it's Buffalo Gals, and you'll recognize it. And if the sheet music that was published then, that's 150 years ago, is still just the same as it's played now, and yet it hasn't come down to us by printed matter. It's come down through rote learning here. Let's see. Buffalo Gals. We'll throw in another one on the tail end of it too here. that last, of course, was Golden Slippers, which is about 50 years later when it was written, but I forgot to say what that was going to be.
Got Seamus in there?
It's coming up.
Yeah.
All right, don't worry. Now, about the time of the Civil War, that was a minstrel tune. There's gobs of those still around. But about the time of the Civil War, there was a dance that had come into the South from Europe and was just gaining favor then, and here came the war and kind of slowed things down. Then after the war, it really took favor and still is the waltz. And we play a waltz called Seamus OBrien. You hear quite a few Ozarks Fiddlers play it. It's a beautiful waltz. And we were when we were at Wolf Trap, I think, a number of years ago, we were with lots of Irish fiddlers, and we thought, well, we'll just show these guys how good we are playing this old Irish waltz, Seamus OBrien. So we played it for them, and they said, what's that? And we said, Seamus OBrien. Said, we've never heard of it. So we made them a tape, in fact, and they took it back to Ireland with them. But I found out later it was written by a man in Cincinnati in 1867, a guy called William Shakespeare Hayes. But it is a pretty waltz, and we'll play it for you now. Seamus OBrien. Thank you.
Thank you a lot.
And of course, after the war, everybody was moving west, and the population was growing, and you had more permanent settlements, and you had music halls develop in towns, which were, of course, forerunners of vaudeville, and a lot of music developed in there. And there's one type of music, we just call it music hall music, which was a forerunner of this ragtime music, and later became 10-Pound Alley. And this one's called Dixie Blossoms. It was written by a man named Percy Winrick. Now, Percy Winrick lived in Joplin, Missouri, and he also wrote on Moonlight Bay, When She Wore a Tulip, Put On Your Old Gray Bonnet. But this is one of his tunes, too, that few people have heard here. See, your tempo's moving up because you're coming into round dancing, as they called it, and ragtime. And coming in, of course, I have to use this. We're kind of reminding myself nowadays of my memory of the two old boys, friends that hadn't seen each other in a couple of years and saw each other and finally were in a rest home. And one asked the other, he said, "How are you doing?" He said, "Well, pretty good." He said, "Except I'm having trouble with my memory." He said, "Like right now, for the life of me, I can't remember whether you or your brother passed away." That's where I am if I didn't have these notes right now. Now we go into where you really start getting into the ragtime, which was about the 1890s, around in there. And this is a tune that Bob Wills made popular back in the 30s, but it's a much older tune than that and had before the Texas style to it. It's called the Beaumont Rag. It's written about the 1890s. And it's a good tune. It's a little different now. Yeah, we're just showing you all these things we're playing are part of the repertoire of most fiddlers in the Ozarks. In fact, most fiddlers around the United States, really, until you get down. Texas is a different style. We have our own style in the Ozarks pretty much. And of course, you have your Missouri French over here, or up in Missouri, I should say, up around Potosi and Old Mines area. They're the first ones that brought the fiddle into this area, about 1770. They came with the Count de Renaud, brought a whole province over here to work the lead mines up there. And, of course, you have your French-Canadian style up in the Northeast and your Norwegians and all that. But the fiddle is the most played instrument in Western civilization. There's no instrument that's played in the folk than the fiddle is. It's always been that way because you can just imitate anything with a fiddle. Let's see. We'll get into we never had the polka in the Ozarks. They play it now because tunes like Jessie Polka and stuff have come in later years. But the closest thing we had to a polka tempo was another dance called a quick step. We'll play you one here called Weidman's Quick Step, which has the same tempo. And then, of course, on up into this century now, there's a blues developed. Now, this has nothing to do with the black blues, I don't think. This is what they call it blues on the tunes and everything. I just call it honky-tonk music. I can always picture some beer joint along the highway with a A couple of them there doing that old two-step where they, like I think I used to do, where you look like you're pumping oil, you know, that old rockin'. This one's called the Rabbit Foot Blues. Now, this traditional fiddling doesn't just, of course, as we're trying to show you, doesn't stop with just the hornpipes and the reels. Of course, we took the hornpipes and the reels and the jigs and we sped them up for square dancing and call them hoedowns. That's what all your hoedowns are, mostly hornpipes and reels. But there's another dance then that came along the first of this century, right around this Tin Pan Alley time and everything, and that's the 5 foot 2 eyes of blue era, the flapper age type stuff. And a lot of these tunes are members of all your fiddlers' repertoires. We're going to play you a couple here. One's called Me Too, and the other is Darktown Strutter's Ball. We'll play you one more style that's before we have an intermission here now. You know, that getting up into this era of tunes reminds me of something that happened about 2 months ago. I got a call, and a young girl, probably college age or just out, said, Mr. McCann, she said, I've been told you know a lot about the old tunes, and she said, I have 2 very obscure tune titles I can't find anything out about, and I want you to tell me what you can about them. And I said, well, I may be able to help you. I thought she was going to have some old ballad of some kind. She said, well, this first one has a weird title, and she said, it is so old, I know you won't know it. And I said, well, try me. She said, it's called Don't Fence Me In. Boy, that made me feel a little funny right there, you know. Incidentally, right after that, I thought it was written by Hoagy Carmichael, but I found the sheet music on it right after it, and it was written by Cole Porter. It was in a movie during the war called Stage Door Canteen or something. But the other one was Redwing, which we'll probably play in the second half here. But that gets to you when those things happen. But, of course, that was in the 40s for her. We'll play this other. Now, there's another style that's really, you get west of here and you'll start running into, is the Texas style, which is a different type. It's almost a metronome type of beat. And we really don't play Texas style. We'll play a Texas style too, an Ozark style. But this is called Sally Johnson. You'll see it doesn't really have a dance tempo to it. Well, that's the first half, and we'll take about a 10 or 15-minute intermission, but we just tried to give you a survey, so to speak, of all the different tunes. That's what makes this old-time fiddling interesting. No fit. If we don't know it, we'll play something we want to play. So anybody have any requests before we get started here? Rubber Dolly. We haven't played that in a long time.
I don't even think of it anymore.
We wouldn't do it. I don't remember how it went here. It's kind of like we got it mixed up with a couple others.
Any Waltz?
Any Waltz.
Any Waltz.
Well, let's see. What do you want to play here? We'll start off with what must be the most popular waltz in Western civilization. All the European fiddlers play it. All the British Isles. All the American continent play it. And it was written by a Mexican school teacher in the 1890s, and he was with a band up in Monterey, and they came to the Louisiana Exposition in 1903. Were very popular with the crowd. In fact, they kept them over for another, I think, 4 or 6 weeks. And this waltz he wrote became the national waltz of Mexico, Sobre las Olas. And you all know it as Over the Waves. heard that. We can't be down in Arkansas and not play Arkansas Traveler here. Now that we did that, we got to look after ourselves here. We'll play you Missouri Waltz, and we're going to play a second part to this that's in the printed music. But whether it's because of radio time or because of contests, they cut it out, and very few fiddlers play it. They're starting to play it again. You know, we were playing this tune one time, some of the funny things that happened, and we started playing Missouri Waltz. We were in the east somewhere, and I noticed a man in the second row. I could see his eyes filling up with tears, and all of a sudden the big tears were rolling down his face, and by the time we finished that thing, the man had his head just literally in his hands, just sobbing, shaking his head, and just crying his heart out. And I saw him out in the lobby afterwards, and I said, "Sir, I noticed when we played Missouri Waltz, you became very emotionally involved. Are you a Missourian?" And he said, "No, I'm a musician." So we hope we do better than that, though. Any more requests? Anybody have anything? Tennessee Waltz. All right. Now, if we play too many waltzes, you'll see everybody starting to go like this. So we'll do this, and then we'll throw a square dance tune in.
Wagner? All right.
Here's probably among the most square dance tunes in the Ozarks, or I guess anywhere. This is Tennessee Wagner. Right here. What? Turkey in the straw, okay. G.
I'll play something now and see if you don't like it and you don't remember hearing it lots of times.
Here's one kind of like that Me Too out of the 5 foot 2 eyes, but it's called Happy Days and Lonely Nights.
Let's do it again. Well, here's something that used to be played on the player piano a lot, and a lot of people know it instantly. I used to play at Silver Dollar City during festivals, and there's always a moving crowd there, you know. There's hundreds and hundreds of people pass by. Some of them stop and listen to you a minute. Some of them won't even look at you. And but anyway, they like Redwing. I believe I played it 150 times. It's a good tune, and I still like it, but I got a little tired of it. How much longer? We'll go a few minutes here. If you want to sit here and play, we can only go about 1 o'clock probably or something. But this becomes addictive. Really, it gets you in trouble with your wives and everything. We played some places. We went to bed tapping our feet. It's just one of the things that goes along with this music. Anybody else have another request?
Any requests? What? We don't play that.
I don't know it.
We don't.
I know it. But
we know it, but we just don't.
Play it.
No, don't play that. I tell you, we'll just stop this right now. We're playing a waltz that you probably haven't. It's in B flat, so I may goof it up. We'll put a halt to all this right now. This is a real pretty waltz, and a lot of people have never heard it. It's called Flowers from Heaven. That'll put you to sleep. Well, we play Tennessee Wagoner. We better play the other square dance tune that's heard so much. We'll play you Ragtime Annie here. Let's, here's a Canadian tune that's very popular. You hear it a lot, and we don't recommend it, but it's called Whiskey Before Breakfast. Anybody else got anything? Pardon? Liberty. Yeah, we haven't played the old standards. Play Liberty. What's that Uncle Dave Mason tune in A? Sail Away Ladies. Here's one that's a song. It's Uncle Abe Macon made it popular, but there's all sorts of varieties. It's called Sail Away Ladies. One more and then we'll finish her up here. Any more? Let's see. What's something different they wouldn't have heard?
What?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
G.
Start G. Played that in a long time. Well, now we got to put one more fast one in before we play our last one here. Let's play Blackberry Blossom.
All right.
Let's play Blackberry Blossom.
Somebody say
Somebody
something?
say? Nope. This is an old tune that the bluegrassers have kind of taken over too. It's called Blackberry Blossom.
We play this one, and then we're going to wind up with the song we always wind up with, which like most of you think you know. I think. we always wind up a program with this waltz, which is popular in the late 30s and 40s. And it's the tune that used to play, if you remember Wayne King. Wayne King played The Waltz You Saved for Me. And it is usually, if you took a girl to the dance, well, no matter how many other girls you danced with, you danced the final dance.
You've been a good audience, too. We really enjoyed playing for you. So this is...
You've been a very good audience. We like it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.